And we are back with another episode of the Great Movie Pod. I'm one of your hosts, Noah, and this is.
I'm Caleb.
It's so good to be back. Before we unveil the title, thanks everybody for watching. Viewership keeps going up and up and up, so that's really cool. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit the subscribe button if you're new and turn on the post notifications so you don't miss when we post. We're playing around with what days work better as far as posting. It was just Mondays for a while. We threw in some Fridays and Thursday. So turn on those post notifications so you never miss an episode. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast, welcome back. Thanks for listening. And before we unveil the theme for today, the last episode we did was Halloween monsters, and we talked about the Mummy, and some cool news dropped today that they are in fact doing a fourth Mummy movie with the original cast.
Yes.
My wife's clapping in the background. It is
Right. It's like we brought it into existence. It was like
we
it was like
did.
it was teetering in the void. It was right there. And then we came at it with all our vibes and goodwill, and all of a sudden they were in the boardroom and they're like, we just have to do this, and boom, it happened.
It was completely and utterly our podcast and our podcast alone. All 68 of you viewers on YouTube from last week's
Woo!
episode. Good job, guys. We did it. Hashtag mummy returns. But yeah,
And
I'm
what's
really
great is
excited
that
about that.
it isn't just Brendan Fraser, it's who else?
Rachel Weisz.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm hoping they haven't announced any of the other cast.
No, it's too early probably, yeah.
I'm hoping that they bring back some of the others as well, but just to have those two is enough for me. My heart is happy that that's happening.
Yeah.
Um, and the script is supposedly already done. They just have to get everyone together and film the dang thing.
I would imagine that they've had several scripts for a bunch of years because it's a franchise, but it's also a beloved thing, and so yeah, it's so great.
Yeah,
It's so
and it
great.
was timed perfectly with our podcast. Like we didn't like know this was coming, obviously, because it just came out today. But as soon as I
Yeah.
saw it, I tagged Caleb and I was like, "Let's go!" It's
Yep.
cool. It was cool. So that was
Well,
exciting
and
news.
I wonder, and obviously, it's based on production is who, when the actors are doing their different movies and when the director's available, et cetera, et cetera. But I wonder also, and I've kind of thought about this a little bit, like if you're going to have Brendan Fraser play the lead role and Rachel Weisz, is it Weisz? Well, it doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
like they need some time to get into game shape in a way because an action film is a whole different thing than doing. Brendan Fraser's been doing stuff and Rachel's been doing stuff, but like if you want to be able to tumble and do things, and I know they're going to have more stunt people for Brendan so he doesn't hurt himself again, but at the same time he wants to do it justice for himself and for the fans, and so they need a little time, and that's great because that just like you said, makes my heart happy. So
Yeah,
good.
yeah. And we were talking about this last pod just briefly when we talked about Brendan Fraser, but he doesn't make horrible movies.
No.
So like even like a movie coming back to a franchise like the it's gonna be fun regardless. Like even if the movie is like bad, like I still think it's gonna be fun. Like the door like that franchise is just fun. It's like Indiana
Yeah.
Jones where obviously you want it to be great, but like even if it's just okay, it's still a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
and we're kind of in a bit of a lapse of like good adventure films that are sort of period pieces. Also, I mean they throw them out there, but it's it, it's a weird thing, and we'll talk about this at some other point, maybe at more length. But like there's there were so many uh, tent post action stars of the 80s and 90s, and then somewhere around the 2000s, the ball was dropped by the cadre of actors that were doing that sort of genre,
Mhm.
and people showed up for a movie here and there and whatever, and that's fine, but they didn't they didn't bring it forward into the
Yeah.
2000s, and so it'll be interesting to see what happens with
The
this
only
movie and other ones.
the only like there's only like three franchises that have well, one's not really a franchise because there's only two movies, but there's really only like three adventure franchises from the 2000s to now. You have like and it's still fantasy too, but you've got like Pirates of the Caribbean, which I count as adventure because it's like not
Yeah,
really like
sure. Yeah.
complete fantasy because pirates were real, but it's like not, historical. So
Yeah, because
you
you
have
got
that.
skeletons walking around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
that, and then you have National Treasure. National
Yeah.
Treasure is pretty up there with adventure. Not quite as much action in those movies, but still that kind of like we're looking for treasure. That's adventure in and of
Yeah.
itself. And then um, it- they're not necessarily adventure movies because they are fantasy because it's not real at all. But I think the Night in the Museum movies kind of fall into that adventure, like because like the spirit of adventure, not necessarily like the adventure genre, but like either there's like an adventure quality of like you're alone in a museum and you're like trying to like I don't know because there's treasure involved with those they're like heists involved. I don't know, but the first two for sure. There's but other than that, there's like nothing.
But both of those, the last two that you were talking about, that was a while ago. Like I think
Yeah.
National Treasure 1 and 2 were like 2003 and 5 or something like. It was like a
Yeah, it's been
while
a long,
ago.
it's been a long time. And
And
then
Night at the Museums, that was a
yeah,
while ago
mid
too. So
2000s. And then there was like a couple Indiana Jones movies here and there, but like that's it. Like there's nothing no adventure like as far as the genre goes.
yeah,
And there was
as like
so many.
as like well, okay, so it's a sort of a weird thing because I think nostalgically we think about, which is we think about like, oh, there's all these different like things, but like a lot of them were standalone movies. Like you had a cliffhanger, you had a yeah, whatever. I mean, you had like a lot of standalone movies. You didn't really have a ton of franchises, really.
No.
Um, so you can't necessarily, fault, this whatever this decade that they don't have them because it's like I think we think about them as like they're more than there were.
And I think also this kind of era of movies has all been franchise based. Like you have Star Wars movies, you have Marvel movies, you
Yeah.
have Mission Impossible movies, which we love, but there's everyone is trying to make a first movie to make a second to make a third to make a fourth, and
Right. Yeah.
it's not no, not a lot of people are focusing on, I'm gonna make one amazing movie. They're
Well,
like,
and
I'm gonna make one amazing movie with threads to five other movies I want to make.
right. I think that could be a pod in itself is that movies that deserve a sequel or deserve a franchise. Meaning, when I say franchise, I think of it as like a trilogy. Because,
Yeah,
for a long time, the Indiana Jones movies, it was just a trilogy and it was fine for 20 odd years. No one needed another one. But I mean, we wanted one, like thinking back in the day, we wanted one, but then Spielberg did other things and Harrison Ford did his stuff and whatever. And it was like after a couple of years, it wasn't like today. We didn't have the we had the internet. Like, don't get me wrong, the internet is already born at that point, but like we didn't have this incessant thing where people were pushing for a sequel to everything. Whereas now it
yeah.
seems like you said, like they are. And so whenever uh, what was the third one? The Holy Grail came
Kingdom of
out.
the Real
Yeah,
Third. Yeah,
they like after a year or so, we were watching whatever Pulp Fiction, and we're watching this, and we're this, and it was like we just had so many great movies coming out. We couldn't complain there wasn't another Indiana Jones because we had other cool stuff. Now
yeah,
it's like it feels to me that there's less cool things, like tent posts, like, oh, remember that year where we had this and this and this and this. It
yeah.
doesn't seem we have that quite as much anymore.
No, no. And I think that could be a podcast in and of itself, just talking about um maybe like the best years for movies, like just going through like individual years, not all
Well,
of the years that
1993.
Oscars, but yeah, it's true. You can't argue that. But there are other awesome years that deserve to get talked about.
Oh
But
yeah, for sure.
anyways, yeah, The Mummy coming back, really exciting. I had to bring it up
Awesome.
because
Yeah.
it was a feature on our last pod. But today we have a really fun and sentimental topic. I got inspired to propose this pod idea because I just watched a documentary about our topic, the documentary in question, I Like Me, the John Candy documentary. And our subject today for the pod is the late and great, gone too soon, John Candy. Um, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts before we start talking movies? John Candy, what does that mean to you?
Well, what it means to me is somewhere, I was thinking about this today a little bit. Somewhere in the 80s, because I'm Gen X, somewhere in the 80s, I saw one of his films. And he, and I don't know what, I was really trying to remember, like, what was the first one I saw of him, whatever, can't remember. Because what I thought about was all of his films, he had a lovable, affable, like you just loved the guy. Like he didn't seem like he had a real bad bone in his body, he had lots of different kinds of roles, but they're all like it's John Candy in the role. And so for me, like when I think about him, I think about like funniness, warmth. He was very touching
Mm,
in roles that it didn't seem like it was written in. He just had it in his eyes, his slight facial expressions, and obviously he had such a short career that who knows what he could have done. But when I think of him, I feel like that sort of warm happiness that is associated with when I was young, just watching a movie and just having this bumbling sort of a guy who he never
yeah,
tried to be an action star. He never tried to be all this other stuff. He was just like this warm, affable guy that like you saw him on screen and you were like, I love seeing this guy. And then
yeah,
so it's a part of it is like a nostalgia towards happiness and the sort of the that age of less worry about life and all the different worries that are on the world now. And it was a different time, and so he sort of represents that, like that period where you could put on an Uncle Buck or a Brewster's Millions or a whatever, and it's just like John Candy being funny and being softly dramatic at the same time, and just you're loving the thing. And you watch the movie and you go away going, I feel like I had a really nice experience watching a film. And sometimes you need that in life.
yeah. And I don't think you're totally right. And I don't think there are actors. I can't think of one right now. I don't think there's an actor alive right now that can give you that same. I call it the Robin Williams effect because there's the Robin Williams, John Candy, Gene Wilder. There's those three, and there's more. There's so many
Oh
more.
yeah, yeah. If we talked for hours,
Yeah,
we'd come up with a whole
you could
bunch. Yeah,
fill up a whole list, but uh, it's and not necessarily on the comic side, but Mr. Rogers too falls into that category of
yeah.
like your your essence is a warm hug.
Yeah.
Like there's something about you on screen, whether you're
Hmm.
sad, you're mad, you're happy, or whatever. You on screen is a warm hug, and there's only a couple. And I don't think there's anyone in the industry right now that like every role I look at and I feel that. Tom Hanks sometimes, but there's also roles where like it's not that like that's not the goal. But even with those guys, like when it's not the goal, like you still feel the moments of like the twinkle.
Yeah.
There's like, I don't know, but I can't think of an actor that's living right now that like
No,
gives
I
me
think you're
that.
right. When you say the word living, I think that's right because I feel that if Philip Seymour Hoffman had survived, I know he was one of the best dramatic actors that has been. At the
Mhm.
same time, when he did softer roles, comedic roles, he had that in spades. He was just so good that he could do other stuff too. But
Yeah.
you're right. Like he's no longer with us, but um,
And I
he
don't, and
came to mind immediately.
I'll add too, I don't think that it's because they've passed away. I there's like if they were still alive, I think that quality would still like
Oh
that's
yeah,
still
yeah.
it's not a quality that I feel because they've passed away. I that's because there are, like there's that argument, Heath Ledger, like is his Joker good or did he get biased because he passed away? And everyone was
No,
like,
he was great.
no, I know, but there is an argument of people that uh think that it's a great performance, but it gets even better in your eyes because he's gone.
Well, that's why
Well, I
you
don't.
can't listen to stupid people.
Yeah, no,
So
yeah, I get that, but yeah, no, but it's not. But it's not like a. It's a distinct quality to those individuals, and not because they're gone, but just because while they were here, they gave us something that's like un unattainable anywhere else.
yeah, and it is a, I guess because we're like we're talking about these, handful of people, and we're not having a ton of people come to our mind immediately, and that really speaks to the special nature of those actors, people that have been able to do that, and
Yeah,
uh, yeah, that could be an interesting discussion, a separate discussion on its own, where we can individually really sort of like sometimes we do these podcasts and we talk about movies and sometimes we do need some time to think about and look up these different and sort of go on deep dives and think, no, 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 that's not exactly what I'm thinking of, and then you come up with a list that's a little different than you initially had thought about, and
yeah.
so that would be an interesting discussion at some point.
For sure, for sure. But yeah,
Yeah,
so those are like, yeah, warm hug, like just like all of his movies. And they talk about this in the documentary, but like all of his movies, he really like comes through the screen. Talking about John Candy now
yeah,
specifically, really comes through the screen as a guy who wants to be your friend. Like just like
yeah.
it's such a interesting thing, and there's not anyone like that, like him specific, like that specific quality. There's like such a weird, and I was watching um
he,
the Great
he
Outdoors was on
I was
TV.
gonna if I can interject
Yeah, yeah, go
before I
ahead.
forget the word, what I found specifically about him, and this is maybe goes back to our point about Robin Williams and others, is that when he had a certain amount of vulnerability that he expressed that didn't seem like it was taught or he had learned somewhere or
No,
any of that. It was just like he had a natural like look of like um, the vulnerability and curiosity and wanting to be your friend, wanting to hug you, wanting the whole thing. He just had it in a very, very small little look without a bunch of acting stuff.
yeah.
And I think that was what really drew a lot of us to him,
And small look for such a big human. Like
Yeah,
he's not a small, tiny man. It's not like, Rick Moranis, who's this tiny little guy. It
yeah.
this is a dude, he's, taller than 6 feet, more than 200 pounds, like larger than life.
Well, I
And
think he was around 300 pounds.
well, yeah, that's why that would be more than 200.
Well, right, yeah, but I'm saying he wasn't like
Yeah,
he
no,
was on
he was
205. He was
big
a big
dude,
gentleman.
big
Yeah,
dude. But that furthers the point of the fact that he can get that look out of it's a moment of like stillness from someone who you would think would have like just magnitude and chaos.
well, right, because there are these actors that are like physically big people and the whole thing, and they do have a big personality with how they act. You look at a Belushi or
Chris Farley.
Farley, whereas Candy, it was in the eyes, and it was just like a kindness that was there that was just beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I was saying the other day, The Great Outdoors came on TV, and I had put it on,
So
and
good.
it's that's one of those movies that, like, the other thing I was gonna say, and this is one of the movies that highlights it, and a lot of his movies have this, but there's another really funny guy to play off of, and it doesn't overpower because he has such a good way of balancing the funny with
Yeah.
other dudes. So like Great Outdoors, it's Dan Aykroyd, and they did a lot. They're like they were very
Yeah,
like they were best friends. They did a lot together.
yeah, did a ton of movies. Yeah,
They did SCTV, the
yeah,
Canadian version of SNL. They were in the same improv troupe. Like they grew up around each other. But
yeah. Second City, right?
yeah, yeah. But it's that movie showcases, and a lot of his movies do, but this one specifically showcases his ability to bounce off of another person who does what he does.
Well,
It's
also, and
it's
Aykroyd was kind of playing the straight man in that movie a
yeah,
bit.
yeah. And it's interesting because it's not you're not um there's a lot of comedic actors like Robin Williams is really good with being comedic with your Pierce Brosnans, like Mrs. Doubtfire. Like he's
Yeah,
just like the straight. He was James Bond. Like
very, yeah,
you're,
very, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
He could play, with anybody. Doesn't matter. But I think it shows an even like more special quality to be funny with another funny guy
yeah,
because you have to have a balance of what you're working with, and I don't think it's there's a lot of, and that's why I think a lot of Adam Sandler movies don't work. There's a lot of
yeah.
them that do, but there's a lot of Adam Sandler movies that don't work because the people in them don't know how to match Adam Sandler's funny.
Well, also, and this is well, there's two things. There's a personal preference, but also I don't generally like most Adam Sandler movies because a lot of it he's like and I'm like, okay,
Yes.
so that would be funny if I was 11.
Yeah.
And I
Or
just I
five.
literally don't understand people that are adults that find that funny, and I get that
Yeah.
people do in the minority, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But also playing against or with another actor to make it to work to bounce properly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And with Aykroyd, I mean, like you said, they'd done so many like on stage, with the Second City troupe, and then they did a lot, they did their version of SNL on TV, and then that version was moved to the well, not moved, but it was broadcast in the U.S. And then eventually they got into SNL to some degree, and then they started doing their own movies, and
Which, by the
yeah,
way, streaming services, you need to put SCTV on streaming services because you cannot get it anywhere. You have to buy them individually. And it's a crime that you can stream SNL, but you can't stream SCTV. I just want
like
to throw
the
that.
stuff from the 70s and 80s, you can't stream it.
No, their whole sketch show. There's no episodes available anywhere. You have to buy the individual seasons.
Right, because they're making so much money selling DVDs of like
I know.
1970, 1982
Canadian
season. Like,
sketch comedy.
right, it's like, hey, we made like $300 this year. Woo, it's like good business model.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Um,
but no, but the great outdoors. So so I was thinking about this a couple of years ago. I was sitting around one night and I'm watching whatever on TV, and and I don't really remember what happened, but somehow or other, there's a bat circling inside of the apartment here. And
okay.
for those that can't see, and I'm not moving the camera, the ceilings are about 12, 14 feet high. And so it isn't like it's next to you, but it's like up circling and bats just go and go and go. And I'm like, oh, and I'm like, I'm channeling John Candy and Aykroyd in The Great Outdoors. And I put up, because bats, you always think they have rabies or whatever. And so
Yeah.
I'm putting on headgear, and I'm getting like, I'm looking around trying to find a tennis racket because like that worked in The Great Outdoors and the whole thing. And like, and so I fashioned this like out of like a my blanket sheet and some weights to try and like catch it. And I finally catch it and I snare it in like because it's like I can't bring myself to kill a bat because it's like it's so mean because they're also, by the way, people, they're endangered species, so you shouldn't kill bats. But also, I didn't want it in the house dead because that seemed like a terrible, like ominous thing. So I
Yeah.
got it and I got it in a clothes hamper and I brought it outside and it flew away eventually. And I remember thinking like John Candy and Dan Aykroyd would be hella like supportive of how I pulled this off.
For sure.
Okay. Okay. I can't bang on the table apparently.
Love it. Yeah, no, The Great Outdoors, I had to mention it. I don't think, I mean, and we'll get to them in a little bit here, but there's for John Candy movies, there's like there's a bunch of staples that people off the bat are like this one and this one and this one. And I think Great Outdoors kind of slides under the radar because I don't think that A, everyone's seen it, which is wild. You should watch it. And B, not everyone, I don't think everyone likes Dan Aykroyd. I don't know. Like that
Yeah.
could be a whole nother podcast talking about Dan Aykroyd. But so you should watch it regardless of your feelings of Dan Aykroyd. John Candy is so good in it. If you haven't seen The Great Outdoors, uh that
I think
is
it's been long enough that people
delightful.
can get over their meh with Dan Aykroyd because, like,
I would
it's not
hope.
like he's been doing a lot for the last like 20 years. Like, he's still,
No.
I saw him on Joe Rogan a couple years ago or whatever, and he wasn't particularly funny, but he's like, and he doesn't appear old. He
No.
just jumped out of the spotlight and is doing his own thing. He has like a tequila company or whatever.
He's still sharp too. Like
So he's
he's
very,
still
very
got it.
smart.
He's still got it.
If you
Um
and by the way, like I'm not I have nothing for Joe Rogan, but if you want to watch an interesting sort of podcast with Dan Aykroyd, he did a pretty long podcast about it, and he wasn't super interested in talking about movies. He liked to talk about aliens and UFOs and
mhm.
tequila and like
It's it's interesting, yeah, because Bill Murray he did an interview with Bill Murray this year, and that was fascinating too, because they just like
who on
talked about
Rogan?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't see that. Yeah,
Yeah, it was good because I don't know. I like these older comics like coming out that don't do a lot of interviews. Like Bill Murray doesn't do a bunch of interviews. Dan Aykroyd
right.
doesn't
No, he
do a
didn't.
bunch of interviews. So it's like cool when those guys come out and do interviews, especially because they can have stories about people like John Candy or John
Yeah,
Belushi, or they have all these stories of people that are no longer with us that we won't get to hear otherwise. So that's pretty cool.
yeah.
Um, in in a before we talk about some of like the bigger movies, there's a uh there are smaller roles that John Candy did that I think deserve some praise. One of which is in the movie JFK.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
sure that's a movie that you very much appreciate. I don't know if you want to talk about that briefly, but
Yeah, well, it was interesting when the this was again a little bit back in the day when it was announced that like Oliver Stone was doing JFK. He was a little well, he's still controversial, I guess. Well, both JFK and Oliver Stone.
JFK, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they both have their own like lane there.
yeah.
But when it was announced who was going to be in it, I remember specifically seeing that John Candy was going to be in it, and I was like, huh. And again, this was around the time where we had comics starting to do dramatic roles, like with Robin Williams in Awakenings or like whatever. And so when I saw John Candy, he's going to do a serious bit in JFK, I was like, oh, like comedians can figure this out. Not every comedian, and every comedian thinks he can. They can't all can. But there is a sort of like a human element that like when you're dealing with, and you can speak on this, of course, but like when you're developing jokes and and a lot of jokes you do with like the human instinct and the human errors and the human condition, and so some of that can be a little dark, and you try and pull out the jokes in there, the bits that are, so you have like Louis C.K. was great about this, finding some darkness and then bringing out something comedic out of it. And that's the line that a lot of comedians like walk is, like doing that. And so I think sometimes that can translate into a comedian finding a dramatic role and doing something with it that maybe a regular actor, they could probably do it fine, but maybe a comedic actor turned dramatic actor can do something even different with it. And so
For
when I
sure.
saw Candy do, and it wasn't like you said, it was a bit part, so it wasn't like that. But I was just happy he was, again, short career. I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, is he transitioning into maybe starting to do a little bit of this stuff?
Yeah.
We didn't get to
And
see it
didn't
more
get to
than
see that.
JFK, basically, but
Yeah. Which is sad. I always like when actors cameo, well, not cameo, that's the wrong word. They have small parts in in films, and then you forget that they're in there, or you didn't know they were gonna be in there, and you're just watching and you're like, was that guy? That's one of my favorite things in all of movies. And it also happens too where you'll be watching a movie, you'll watch the movie all the way through, whatever. Don't watch it for 20 years. Then you come back to that movie and there's a waiter in a scene that like is famous now, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, that's that guy, and you wouldn't have known the first time you watched it because that guy's not popular then,
yeah,
which is so interesting. And yeah, that I had that effect watching John Candy because in that movie, because JFK, you're just watching along, you're like Kevin Costner and Gary Oldman, and you're watching, you're just like, oh my gosh, that's John Candy, that's cool,
yeah.
like what,
Well,
that's awesome.
like he had this, and it was in the very beginning of his career, but he had a basically a bit part in the Blues Brothers.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
like that affable cop,
yep,
you
yep.
know. And then he had what I think is one of the best cameos. Oh, that's a pod right there. Best cameos of all time.
I
Oh,
like
hold
that.
on,
We'll write that
hold on.
down.
I gotta
That's a
write this
good.
down.
That's a
Best
good one.
cameos. I him showing up in
Home Alone?
Home Alone as
Yes.
Gus Polinski, the polka king of the Midwest.
It's so great. Polka Polka?
Hmm.
I
Not only
so
is it like a classic movie for the holidays, but like he distinguished himself as like a memorable tiny little character in that whole film.
okay, so really fun fact about that movie and that scene specifically. If you don't know, this is great, but if you do know, bear with me, audience might not know. That scene, well, not scene because he's in a couple scenes, but that character he did as a favor to the director Christopher Columbus.
Yeah.
And all of his lines are completely ad-libbed. It's
Yeah.
not written. And he it was completely unscripted and they just like green light and let him go, which makes it even better. Um and not only is he in that movie, but he's on screen with another childhood well not childhood, but like a young adult friend of his, Catherine O'Hara, because those two
Oh yeah, because she's Canadian also, right?
yeah, they were in the same improv troupe as well uh with the rest of the gang. Um so it's just really cool that got to happen. And the way it happened. Like that's just so cool. And it not only is it a memorable scene, but it's a memorable scene in one of the greatest movies. Like and it doesn't you don't remember that scene because the movie's so great. You're like, oh, this movie's great. Ah, John Candy, what? Like it's very just like, oh my gosh, John Candy. And there are only a few scenes where it's an amazing scene and you forget about it because the rest of the movie is so good. There aren't a lot of movies that are like that. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. Another one, and this is like a again just such a tiny cameo. He actually has a cameo in Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I saw that on his IMDb. I haven't
Yeah.
seen
Yeah,
Ghostbusters in a
so
minute. I need to
apparently,
rewatch
so
it.
he like the director of a bunch of stuff, Ivan Reitman, um, he asked Candy to be in Ghostbusters to play who's the secretary guy, Tully something.
Yeah.
So he invited him to do that. And so it didn't work out for whatever reason, but Ivan still wanted him to be in the movie because they were all friends. And so apparently when they're chanting for the Ghostbusters outside of their building, like John Candy's in the crowd leading the charge. And I never knew it when I saw it like when I was young. But if you go back and you look at it, you're like, oh, there's John Candy right there.
That's awesome. I love I think the cameo, and I'm glad you wrote that down for a podcast idea, because I think the cameo is like not in the Marvel like cameo sense where
Yeah,
you're
that's
like
different. That's
that's
sort of
okay.
a planned thing. Yeah.
But like the original cameo back before cameos were like a thing. I just think they are the coolest little element of film because it's not in there for any story building or any plot or anything. It's just in there just to be there. And I
Yeah.
love that. And um just as a side, and I'm sure this will be a we'll talk he'll get his own pod, but Alfred Hitchcock would cameo in all of his films, which is
Yeah.
just so cool.
Peter
Um
Jackson,
yeah,
you name it. There's a whole bunch of them. Yeah.
yeah, a whole list. And I
Yeah.
just love that. I love that so much. Um But yeah, cameo in Ghostbusters, cameo in Home Alone, and again, before we move off Home Alone, I love like the polka polka is fun, but I love in that scene he does exactly what we were talking about with like the eyes, where you're like you can see that his character, even though it's completely unscripted and he probably doesn't even know, like this character doesn't have a backstory because he's just a random character, but he like created this backstory and gave this man like a sympathetic, like, hey, you can like he's conveying all these emotions of a character that like wasn't even supposed to be in the movie. Like
Yeah,
it's so crazy that he's able to be like a key character for this mom to like calm down and know she's going to get home to her son and he's not even supposed to be in the movie.
right.
It's like it's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah,
It's probably one of the best cameos. It just makes you
yeah.
feel good. You're like, "Yes, John Candy." Um Another movie that I wanted to touch on, Uncle Buck.
Oh, so good.
As an uncle yourself, um, and also it's a good segue off of Home Alone because it also stars Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I weirdly enough, I just found that on VHS at a yard sale like not long ago. 'Cause it's like you want to watch whatever film whenever, and a lot of times you forget that X, Y, and Z is available, or it isn't on a streaming service or on cable TV. It might never ever show up, and so if I see a DVD or whatever, and I picked up a VHS player years ago just because I was like, ah, nostalgia. And then sometimes I find a movie that it just I can't ever find on DVD and it's not on streaming and I'm like, I'm glad I have it. And so I should note that I found Planes, Trains, and
Oh,
Automobiles, which we'll
yeah,
talk about in a little bit. Um,
yeah.
but
That's such a
uh
good cover. But there's a guy I follow on Instagram. Just a brief aside, but there's a guy I follow on Instagram, and his whole thing is creating VCR covers.
okay.
So he like takes VHS tapes and but he makes VHS covers of movies that like are modern. So like
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
if
Yeah.
yeah, it's cool. So like if the new Predator movie comes out, he'll come out with a VHS cover art, which is like it's super cool.
So a friend of mine actually creates he's a painter and he paints classic and modern films in Gothic 1915, 1920s like styles. And he doesn't do it all the time, but when he does it, it's absolutely like his name is Shannon. Is it Shannon Stacy or Stacy Shannon? I never know if his name is if he's just messing with his own name. Anyway, find him on
Mm,
Twitter. He's probably on Instagram or whatever, and he does amazing stuff
okay.
on there.
Yeah.
Um, so
Um
it looks like those old, like if you were to go to a theater in like 1931 and it
yeah.
has like those old artwork and like that's just this beautiful stuff. He kind of recreates some stuff like that in whatever version of movie or whatever genre he's trying to create, and it's
Okay.
very cool. Yeah, yeah.
Um yeah,
But
what
Uncle
was it?
Buck,
Yeah.
what? So to me and for you, in less than a month, is going to be a new uncle. I'm going to be a grand
Yes.
uncle, apparently, or
Grand
a great
uncle.
uncle.
Great
I don't know
uncle,
what it
yeah.
is. Whatever it is, I'm going to be that. And so that, like, I don't know. Maybe Uncle Buck, like, helped me figure out what being uncle was supposed to be, which is like, I don't know. Here's this. I remember. Okay, here's a story, and no one can sue me because the statute of limitations. So I was watching. I won't mention who it was. Doesn't matter. I was over at the place, and I was watching a couple of nephews, and one of them wanted to go bike ride, and your parents were wherever. So I'm like, they were in another state or whatever, and I was staying over for a couple days, keep an eye on things. And he was like in his garage, and you have the garage right here, and you have the tree, and you have like, and he wanted to go bike ride in the parking lot, which is across a field of grass, and he wanted to go up there. And he was like distraught. And I'm like, what's up? What's going on? And he's like, well, I want to go bike ride, but I can't. And I was like, well, why can't you bike ride? And he's like, well, I don't have a helmet. And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I'm Gen X, by the way. This is this disclaimer for anyone that's chiming in or whatever. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I don't have a helmet. And I'm like, what are you planning on doing? Because in my day, if you were to have a helmet, you're doing something crazy. And he's like, I just want to go bike up in the parking lot. And I'm like, well, just go ahead. Just jump on your bicycle and go up
just
to the parking lot. And he's
just
like,
do
I
it.
can do that? And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. But like, anyway, different generations, different rules, different laws, the whole thing. But it's like, I don't remember we were talking about this, but
I love that.
yeah.
I
Oh,
love that.
Uncle Buck, because I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know about being an uncle. I'm just there. I don't know the rules. I remember.
Yeah.
Well, I can't tell that story probably. Um, I didn't like. There's one time I went into a store and I left a couple kids in the car, and I didn't know that was a rule. How am I gonna know? Like, there's no. They don't give out a rule. Like, here's a booklet when you're an uncle,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
Uncle Buck in the movie, John Candy shows up and he's like, I'm just doing my thing, and he's just like winging it, and the kids are like, you can't do that, and he's like, well, sure I can, why not?
I think that movie works so well. There's uh Robin Williams does this in Mrs. Doubtfire, but there's a certain chemistry that John Candy has with the kids in the movie that make that movie
Oh
so
yeah, for
good.
sure. Yeah.
And it's one thing to have chemistry with adult actors. It's a whole nother thing to have chemistry with kids that you're acting with because it's very hard to do because kids are figuring it out. Like Macaulay Culkin in that movie is like 6, 7, maybe 8. Like he's real
Yeah.
young, and and he's figuring out how to act. And this is before he even does Home Alone.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
uh, in the documentary I just watched, Macaulay Culkin, they do a quick interview with him, and he was saying that he was sad that he didn't get to see John Candy after that movie because he thought that I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna run into John and John's gonna be like, oh, I love all the stuff you've done,
Yeah.
and he was like, I never got to do that. And that's like
Yeah.
that's so interesting that like he made such an impression on this kid for one movie that he was like, I can't wait to grow up and tell this guy how much I've done.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a yeah, like you said, it's obviously there's one of those rules in movies that like you want to try to not work with kids or animals because you just can't control them. You don't know what's going to happen, the whole thing. But it's a big indicator that like when you work with kids and they gravitate towards you. And then also, and I was going to mention this too, like the amount of directors that wanted to work with him again and again and again. And I wrote down a list of just like you have like Ivan Reitman, Harold Ramis, Ron Howard, Mel Brooks, John Hughes in a bunch of movies, Chris Columbus, like everybody who is making films, like the directors who had their pulse on like what was funny for about 15 years.
Yeah,
Everybody was like, we want this guy to work with us because he brings something magical, whether it's with
yeah.
kids or whomever, Dan Aykroyd, whatever. Yeah, it's um and I think it goes back to and I'm going to go back to a little bit in his beginning in Stripes with Bill Murray.
Bill Murray, yeah, and Harold Ramis.
Yeah. And it's just like they just had this chemistry that just worked so well. And I don't know if in the documentary they touched on this, but like it seemed that, and obviously Bill Murray, you can't really write a big script for him because he's gonna ad lib or do what he's gonna do. But then like you were talking about with the chemistry between Aykroyd and Candy, I'm the way Candy plays off of Bill Murray is just so good. I mean,
So
just
good.
ah,
Yeah, and it's another one of those movies where John Candy's not the star, but you finish the movie and that's what you can remember. Like obviously you remember Bill Murray and the
sure.
what you just watched, but like Candy steals the show. Like when he's on
Well, it was like an
screen, it's
introduction to Candy,
yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah. And there's a bunch of actors that can do that or have done that, but it's just a touch on his greatness to be able to like steal a show in a movie that you're not like in 100% of the time.
Yeah. Well, it's like I would say that to me, and this is my personal preference, is like one of my favorite comedies really of all time, but also not that it's ha 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 funny all the time, but Brewster's Millions with
Mm,
Richard Pryor, because Richard Pryor is the headliner. He's the guy because he was making from 1977, 8, 9, whatever it was, and then through 91, 92, he had that run of like 12 years or so. So he was always the headliner, and then sometimes it was him and Gene Wilder, but like when it
Right.
was him and then it was John Candy. John Candy definitely was the supporting role, but his bits that he came in there with were
Hmm.
just so. And I absolutely adore that movie. I just for me, yeah.
Yeah, I Richard Pryor, we should probably do a whole podcast just on
Oh
like
yeah, yeah. He's a
Pryor's
whole thing.
films.
He's a whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to comment too much on Richard Pryor because I'll save that for a pod because I think that can be a whole pod.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know if there's another movie that you wanted to mention other than that one. I have two more that are like the big ones.
I have a couple. I want to talk
Okay.
about for a second the absolute ridiculousness of this movie that worked, which was Spaceballs.
Yes. Yes.
Where you have that on your thing. So
I
he
do,
played
yeah.
Bart instead
Yeah.
of yeah. It's a Mel Brooks, and obviously Mel Brooks, and we've talked about this. The movies and the line overstepping that he did again and again and again, which is what you expected from him for like 20 years, and then basically even in modern interviews, he's like, "Yeah, I couldn't make most of the movies now." I think that is turning. I think we're getting to a point where we're starting to not take everything so seriously again, and so I think that's
Yeah.
a good thing for humanity and people being people and being nice to each other. But back to Spaceballs, you have like you have John Candy dressed up as a giant dog looking thing, and it just it
Yep.
just works, you
It
know.
does. It's so good. And I think also they are doing a sequel to Spaceball.
No,
Yes,
no.
yes, yes. And
Oh,
Mel Brooks wrote it, I think, and is uh in it. And John Candy's son, I think, is playing he's either playing Barf or like the son of Barf. So like
some bar.
yeah. Yeah. So I'm on board because of the fact that
If Mel
uh
Gibson or
Mel
Mel Gibson,
Mel
if he's doing it,
Mel Brooks is on board. He's in it. It's going to be like probably his last role ever because he's like 99.
is he directing it?
I don't know if he's directing it. Let me see. Let me do
Well, even if he
some
isn't,
quick.
if he wrote it and he's greenlighting it, I think he knows at this point he might be able to get away with and it wasn't like Spaceballs was trying to get away with kind of like crazy
Okay. So
stuff. It wasn't like it was like, huh?
he is not directing it, but he is in it. They are bringing back Rick Moranis from retirement as Dark Helmet. They are bringing back Bill Pullman, and Lewis Pullman is playing his son in the movie.
Louis Pullman is an underrated actor, by the
He
way.
is. So to get his son, and then they're also adding like I said, John Candy's son, and then the newer cast that they're adding, Anthony Carrigan, who's a really good character actor. He's got alopecia. He's been in a lot of things more recently, really good. And then Josh Gad, who played Olaf in Frozen for the kids, but he's been in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
he has an element. He has something to him that I think can be funny. I don't know that he's been used perfectly yet because
yeah.
he's been in some like kind of body comedies and things. I think he has a next level to him.
Yeah, but I think I like it because they're bringing back nostalgia. They're also using some newer actors that are really good. And Mel Brooks is there, and because he's there, I would imagine that he's not going to let them mess with it so much that he's like, I don't know what this is. Like Rick Moranis was retired. Like he didn't want to do acting at all. He hates it. He hates being a star. He likes living in Canada alone. Like that's
Well,
his
I think
thing.
he likes
And
being a star, but he also likes the amount of money he made off of it.
no, I
So I
said
mean,
he does. I say he doesn't like being a star. That's why he's
no, he
retired.
liked the fact that he made that amount of
Oh
money
yeah,
being
yeah.
a star.
No, true,
I'm
true,
saying,
true. but for
That
him to for
I just as an aside, I always hate when like there's an actor who's like, oh, I hate being a star. Well, you can now live in your mansion alone in Canada because you were a
yeah,
star, so you
yeah.
don't hate it that much.
But shout out Rick Moranis because Rick Moranis is great. And there was an article like last year or the year before, someone just randomly punched Rick Moranis. Like he was just out shopping and someone just ran up and punched him. How could you punch Rick Moranis?
Oh,
Like that's
this was when there no, this was when there was that what's still going on really, but like when there was that big a lot of the news about like the random assaults on people in like the New York
yeah,
subways or whatever, and he happened to be a random it was and it seemed like it was a random victim. He didn't
it
know who he
was.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then everyone was like, "How can you punch Rick Moranis?" Like Honey,
yeah,
I Shrunk the Kids, Spaceballs.
yeah.
Oh man,
And
but
we
yeah,
won't get into it, but it has a lot to do with the, you arrest someone for doing something like that again and again, and you just keep releasing them, and it's like you can't do that. We're in a civil society. You
we
can't
have
just
to protect Rick Moranis. Come on now.
yeah, or just little old ladies, just like just if you're someone that's going out and punching people, you got to just do something to keep them off the streets to keep people safe.
Yeah,
However that happens, but yeah,
yeah,
and yeah,
yeah.
protect. He's a little dude,
He's a
you
tiny
know.
guy. He's a tiny guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Spaceballs 2 is on the rise. The original one, it's amazing. It's so good.
Okay. Yeah.
Mel Brooks, and we could probably do a whole Mel Brooks pod. We have so many
Well, yeah,
podcasts. I
yeah,
love it.
obviously you could do
Um,
two on him.
yeah, yeah.
I think finally we probably should talk about the creme de la creme of
Yes,
John Candy films, which
that
is
is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Want to show that VHS again for
yes
the folks on the YouTube.
for
Look at
the people at home.
look at that. Look at that guy. Oh man. I don't even need a graphic for this one. You are the graphic. That's great. That is so good. Oh man. What give me your thoughts on planes, trains, and automobiles. I'll listen to you first and then I'll chime in.
So I when I first saw it, I don't actually know if I saw it on VHS or DVD because it was right around the time. This was 19. I wrote it down. I think. Oh, it was 87. So it would have been a VHS first, and then it was DVD a couple years later. But um, I when I first saw it, it was kind of like I didn't know what to make of it because it
Sure.
like the genre of the buddy comedy or the buddy movie I don't think was really established yet. It was
Hmm.
just starting to in the sort of sometime in the 80s, and then so this came out and we're like, what is going on with like they're just meeting up and but again, Candy had a like several movies already. He had one, two, three, like 8 hits, and so you just it's and with Steve Martin, you allow yourself to have the movie come into you.
Yeah.
So it's like if there's a trust level with movies. When you trust the actor, then you can accept the movie rather than being suspicious of what's going to being thrust onto you. And so Steve Martin and you have John Candy's affable thing, and you're like, what is going on? And you're just like this kind of sad guy who's lovable, who's funny without trying to be, and then Steve Martin who's kind of irritated for the whole movie. And it just and the two of them like and Steve Martin constantly trying not to fall in love with his friend in a way, if that makes
Yeah.
sense in a platonic sort of a way, like he wants to love this guy in a platonic friendship way, but he just like he's forcing himself to be this annoying, prick essentially. And
Right.
but it's just so good on every level.
Hmm. I love that movie because it is a Thanksgiving movie. And there
Yeah,
aren't a lot of Thanksgiving movies. There's a
very few.
very small amount,
Yeah,
and if you're like me, you can't watch Christmas movies until Thanksgiving
yeah,
is
yeah. Oh
over.
no, no, the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, 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 until Thanksgiving is
Okay,
over.
okay, yeah.
Uh, and so you're in this weird thing of Halloween's over, so you can't watch Halloween movies. Thanksgiving is a month out. What do you watch? You need to feel it's getting cold outside, it's getting dark outside. The seasonal depression is just starting because there's no holidays. What do you watch? This is what you watch.
Yeah.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. If you have not seen it, first of all, you live under a rock. But second of all, watch this movie. alter your brain chemistry in the greatest way possible. It is the perfect comfy cozy movie.
Yeah.
Um there's a there's a quality to this movie that that I'd like, and I think the crazy part, obviously, the central focus is this guy's trying to get home for Thanksgiving. But I think if you took Thanksgiving out of the movie, it still is the same, like, wonderful, like, you still have the fuzzies. The Thanksgiving is just a beautiful add-in. But like
Right.
I I just love him, and this is another case of the what we were talking about with Dan Aykroyd. Him and Steve Martin, it's just a match made in heaven. It's the perfect balance of like Steve Martin's irritable straight man, but he's also got the Steve Martin characteristic of undeniably funny while being unremarkably unfunny, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense
Yeah. Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
uh, you don't understand why you're laughing at Steve Martin, but you have to. And then John
It's
Candy
like
is,
it's like his subtle looks and gestures and very subtle facial expressions. Like
yeah,
he could be he could be very displeased with something, and it's just in his mouth.
yeah.
Like he's just like
Right,
he
right,
just
right, right.
he just without doing any, he just naturally can do it. And then like
Yeah,
the audience, and when it's natural, that's when the audience just really soaks it in. You know.
yeah, yeah. It's and then there's just such there's a couple like really good monologues in that movie too, because it's a
Yeah.
it's a funny movie throughout, but there's a serious element to it.
I like me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's why they used
That's
it in the documentary as the title. The documentary that they just came out with is called I Like Me, uh, for a reason. Like that's like his greatest film. So like you gotta use that. But like B, that the movie, obviously spoilers. If you haven't seen it by now, pause this, go watch it, come back. But
yeah.
that scene, he's talking about basically like I'm my weird self. I'm me. I'm goofy. I'm what I like me. If you don't, I don't care. Like I'm gonna live my life and be me. And that's a message that like so many people need to live by because
Yeah.
everyone is different. Everyone has their own quirks, their own things that make them uniquely them. And if you cater to other people, it's like, no, don't do that.
And it's also like a message that, like, to go off what you're saying, is that people that like more, well, especially young people, they need to hear and embrace. It isn't that they have to embrace being weirder and weirder and weirder to get attention or whatever. It's like you can just start off just being yourself and then liking yourself and realizing that there's other people like you and like me and John Candy and people that are like, we're all a little quirky and a little weird, but hey, I like me. I like who
Yeah.
I am. And that's
Yeah.
okay to be. You don't have to try and get extra attention and try and do whatever. You can just be okay and like yourself and realize that other people that are also quirky are kind of like, yeah, we like ourselves too. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's just such a great that monologue, which is a short monologue. I don't have it here. I don't even know if we can broadcast it because of the whatever reasons, but like
Yeah.
it's one of the best um
I will leave a
messages.
link. I will leave a link to that monologue in the description.
Okay, good, great. Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
just a great message for people to, it's like I post a lot of stuff on Twitter that's like, trying to be uplifting and trying to like encourage. I show my stuff I'm working on and trying to encourage people to do stuff, and it's like you need to do that. But even with the younger generation, like just encourage them to be themselves and be okay with it, and it's cool. And yeah, it's such a great for
Yeah.
Thanksgiving also
Yeah.
to fold it all into the one in thing is
Yeah. Be th-
fantastic.
and th- and then yeah, Thanksgiving. So be the idea of being thankful for the people that you have in your
Yeah.
life and then who you are as a person and like how you got there and being thankful for the things around you and the things that you have that maybe other people don't have. And that can be
Which is why I think Thanksgiving is maybe the best holiday
it
to
is
me.
my favorite holiday. It's to me
I
it's
mean, Christmas is great. Christmas is all the
Christmas is
tradition
great.
and the
Christmas is
everything. Yeah.
great. 4th of July is great. Halloween is great sometimes. Like there's some other good holidays, but like Thanksgiving, like it's so good. I feel bad for other countries that don't have it. Like it's like
You know,
it's
it's funny. So when I lived in Argentina, I did a Thanksgiving for my friends. And I
nice.
told them ahead of time. I said in a week we're doing Thanksgiving. We had a rooftop barbecue set up, and we're gonna do a barbecue. I'm gonna do it all up. So I went out. They have no turkey in Argentina, so I bought like chickens like to like cook,
Yeah.
and I tried to find I got so I can make mashed potatoes, and I found carrots to make a thing, and I'm telling people to bring stuff and bring wine, and of course people are bringing like caipirinhas and all this stuff, and like they're turning it into a South American thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So a bunch of people show up, and the food's cooking and the barbecue's going, and then my British buddy comes up to me and he's like, "Yo, you got the day wrong." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "It's next week." I was like, "No." So
Oh, that's
so
funny.
we had this giant Thanksgiving celebration the week before Thanksgiving. 'Cause I hadn't paid attention. I was living
The
overseas. I wasn't
the
looking at the
best
calendar. I just
the
knew it was
best
sometime in November.
the best thing about that is it's your friend who's not from a country who celebrates
No, yeah, the
Thanksgiving
British
that
guy.
reminded you.
He's like insulting me with all the best British insults about how stupid I was, and I was like, I couldn't deny the fact that I completely botched the whole. Well, the food was great. We had a great celebration. We had wine and spirits and great food, but
Yeah.
yeah, I we had a great
Oh man.
Thanksgiving. Not on Thanksgiving.
Oh, well, that's good. I mean, I think that's hilarious. I love that. I love that. But yeah, planes, trains, automobiles, John
Yeah, you
Candy,
guys got to check it out. Yeah,
check it out.
or if you had seen it back in the day, find
Rewatch
it
it.
somewhere on one of the platforms, whatever, and find
It
it.
is on Paramount Plus right now.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah,
It is
watch
a
it around
Paramount.
the holidays. It'd be great.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And that movie's a great movie to watch anytime, but especially between now and Thanksgiving, it's the perfect time
Yes.
to watch it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Before we end this podcast, typically we do something we either just watched or we're looking forward to. Do you have one or both of those to
Oh
share with
well, I
class?
oh yeah, I have. I'll go first if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, your youngest
Nice.
brother, is spending the rest of the week with me.
Nice.
So for those that don't know, it's sort of a tradition with everybody when they hang out. It's like a deep hang with like we do work, we have great food, we watch movies, we watch sports, we have conversations about everything, and it's such a great sort of just a great time. And so Levi is coming up tomorrow evening at some point, and so I have a list of things we're gonna do, and we're gonna work our butts off. And he's like, "Yeah." He's sending me a text, and he's like, "Yo, Uncle C, like I'm ready to work." I'm like, "Okay," but he really wants to eat and watch movies, which is really what he
Yeah.
wants to do. Because I'm
Yeah.
gonna as some people know, I used to work as a chef, so I like to like chef it up a little bit, and but for movies, we've got a whole list, but I thought you would get a kick out of this because I'm thinking we should watch Time Bandits.
Yes. Yes.
Now tell the audience what that means.
Okay. So Time Bandits, first off, if you haven't seen it, classic movie. Classic movie.
Directed by Terry Gilliam. Yep.
Yeah, Terry Gilliam. It's about a kid who gets kidnapped by dwarves and they go on a time adventure for just for the pleasure of all, honestly, watching that film. But that movie is so awesome, and it's also sentimental to me. Uh uh, Unfortunately, for a sad reason to start, but we were traveling out for a funeral. Our grandfather passed away. Grandmother. It was great grandma's funeral, right?
Mhm.
Great grandma's funeral. Yeah, our grandmother had passed away, and so we were traveling out to the middle of absolute nowhere, New York State, Amish
There's like
country. Like there
Amish
were like
country.
literal Amish people like driving down
Yep.
the road of this church.
Yep.
So you know, we do the funeral. It was great talking to people, whatever. On the way back, we are driving through like literal nowhere. It's like an 8 hour drive plus. We're like, what do we do? And my uncle had his laptop and he was like, well, here's a couple movies. We're gonna watch this movie called Time Bandits. And I was like, okay, cool. So we stopped at this gas station and we got combos, which
Yeah,
if you
that's right.
if you the, the movie is great, but honestly, the kid brain remembered combos more than the movie because like that's so to this day, like combos are weird because like it's processed cheese and it's pretzels, but like
Right.
you might hate it, but like I love my mom was like a she still is, but not as aggressively, but like she was like a super health nut growing up, so we like didn't eat a lot of like junk. So like when we were able to eat junk food, like I remember it even more so than like your typical kid. And so we like each got a pack of combos and we split the combos and we're in the back seat of this car and we're on his laptop watching Time Bandits and it's a locked in childhood memory. I love that movie.
So I think tomorrow and the next day, like I already I showed him a trailer on
Oh
YouTube or
yeah.
whatever, and
Oh
he was like,
yeah.
"Oh," and I'm like, "Okay, we're gonna watch this.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
good." So
Gotta.
that's what I'm looking
Gotta.
forward to. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
What do
I
you
love
got?
it. Oh man. I have been watching this show called The Diplomat on Netflix and it's very good. It's about Joe and his wife, my brother-in-law and his wife, they binged it the first season and they were like, "No, you got to watch this." And at first there was just one season and I thought it was going to be a limited series. So I was like, "Okay, cool, I'll watch it. It's only 8 episodes, whatever." I get to the end, freaking cliffhanger. They like completely and I was like, "Oh, you
Yep,
not
that
so
works.
nice guy because you made me watch a show that now I'm gonna have to be invested in because there's gonna be another season." And I was, and um
But
yeah,
it's pretty
like
good though.
it's pretty good. The second season was great, and the third season just dropped. And so
Oh, oh, okay.
it's a Netflix show, so you can binge the whole thing at once. So I'm excited to watch the third season. The first two seasons are great. It's about an American woman who goes overseas because her
That's a diplomat.
husband well I think yeah, I think she is her husband is British and she's like a diplomat of the United States to Britain, and there's like a plot with the prime minister and there's this whole bombing and there's this whole thing, and so it's very good. So
Oh, okay.
I'm
Oh,
excited to
by the
watch
way,
that.
the other one I want to see, I can't, I don't know the exact name, but I just saw a flash, and it's a Netflix thing. It was something about like something how to handle dynamite or something like that. It's something about like the preparations or how a town or a city is preparing for a nuclear strike or something.
Ooh, okay, that's interesting.
Anyway, it's getting some kind of interesting like press, and I didn't see the trailer yet. I don't, but I saw like one of those like 30-second snippets. So I
Yeah.
don't know yet.
Okay.
But it's getting
Cool.
good press. I might check it out. I don't know.
Cool. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, this has been another episode of the Great Movie Pod.
The
Uh,
Great Movie Pod.
Yes. If you, I know we said it before, but I'll say it again. If you're brand new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button, turn on those post notifications, and give us a like. Throw us some likes. We're trying to do something
And
cool with this
comment below
podcast.
if you have other things, other you want to talk about John Candy a little bit. You know, we like to look at the comments and interact a little bit, and
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Comment away. If you have any other podcast ideas, throw them
Yes.
in the comments.
Yes.
We're always looking at new things to do, new topics. Yeah, go ahead and do that. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we'll see you next week.
Yeah. All right. Take care, guys.
Take care.